Hello and welcome to episode 5 of Linguistics for Language Learners. Today we'll introduce a new class of consonants found in almost every language in the world, and that is consonants that use the nose. So everything we've seen so far is using the mouth and the vocal cords, but the nose can also add to your sound and change it in a way that produces a new sound, which are of course called nasals. So if you remember, the rows of the table represent different ways of producing a closure. And so the second row below plosives is called nasal. Now, this is very similar to plosive because it involves a full closure. In fact, what you are making in your mouth, what you are doing with your mouth, will be the same between the plosive and the corresponding nasal. The difference is that with a plosive, you make the full closure and then you push air past it and explode it open. With a nasal, instead, once you make that full closure, you breathe out, but you open your nose. You let the air flow out your nose. So there's no explosion, the mouth stays closed, and the air comes out the nose. Now, the idea of opening your nose is not something that people normally think about, but we all know how to do it because we speak language that has these nasal sounds. So if you imagine, take a letter like P or B, so closing the lips, total closure, and then try to breathe out through your nose. Well, of course, you have to add the voice as well. So you'll see that all these nasals occur on the right side of the box because that's how you get voicing. You have to vibrate the vocal cords to actually make any sound at all here. Otherwise, it'll just sound like whispering out your nose. So, sort of a humming as you close your lips and then breathe out the nose. And of course, you get M. So, many people don't think about exactly how these sounds are made. And that's like a lot of things in phonetics. We do it automatically. We don't think about how to produce these sounds. But with phonetics, you learn how to produce them so that then you can then apply this to learning new sounds in other languages. So, just like P and B have this perhaps surprising connection, being very similar, M is also the partner to P and B, and the mouth position of all three of those sounds is the same. P, B, M. So perhaps you can guess and fill in the next one, which would be underneath the D. So it's like total closure there at the gum behind top front teeth. And you get the letter N, which you can see as in a word like no. Now, English has one more of these nasal consonants, and you can perhaps guess that, based on the pattern here, that it is underneath the G. Now, this one is one that doesn't have a letter associated with it. It's the sound that we often write as NG. And so many people, when they hear an NG word, such as sing, they imagine that there's a G in there, but there's really no G sound in a word like sing. We often write it as NG, but it's simply a nasal sound that it is to G what N is to D and M is to B. really the power of arranging things in this table is that we can make the analogy. If things are lined up in a row or column, they will have things in common where we can sort of figure out what they are based on the other sounds near them. So you have PB and then M, you have TD and then N, you have KG, and then you have this eng. And you can see that this letter, it was made to look like an N with sort of a hook of a G at the end. I like to think of it as elephant N because I think of that as an elephant trunk, but whatever works for you. So here's another of the special International Phonetic Alphabet symbols. But really, it's just the case of our alphabet that it doesn't have it. It's really just as much of a normal sound of English, just as much as M and N. It's like it's like a missing letter of English that we choose to write with NG, but it's a single sound. And so there it is. That's all the nasals that we have in English, and we're now close to complete all the consonants. There's only a few small classes left to go. So that's it for today, just 3 sounds. Thanks for listening, and see you next time.